Have you ever wished you could, just forecast what happens after you die? Like the exact same way you forecast the weather.
That would certainly save us all a lot of existential dread, wouldn't it?
Right. I mean, imagine you just wake up, you look at your current state of mind, you check the internal atmospheric pressure, and you just confidently say, yes, 100% chance of reincarnation tomorrow.
Yeah, with a slight breeze of eternal paradise by the weekend.
Exactly. But, it sounds completely absurd when we frown it like that. We're just so conditioned to treat the afterlife as this ultimate impenetrable mystery.
Oh, absolutely. We treat it as this giant question mark that, well, no one gets the answer to until it's way too late to actually study for the test.
But the source material we are diving into for today's deep dive completely throws that question mark out the window.
It really does.
Yeah, it's a fascinating and honestly incredibly specific 2007 text by an author named Deiform Celestial. It's literally titled, How to Predict Your Own Afterlife.
Which is quite the bold claim.
Right. And we are not just looking at abstract, feel-good spirituality today. We are decoding a highly structured, intricately detailed cosmic rule book.
Yes, very structured.
The fundamental claim here is that you, yes, you listening to this right now, can accurately predict your next phase of existence simply by examining the current observable state of your own consciousness.
Yeah, the proposition strips away the mystery entirely. It replaces it with almost a kind of spiritual physics, if that makes sense.
Spiritual physics, I like that.
It argues that the universe just does not deal in randomness, and that includes what happens to your consciousness after your physical body expires.
Okay, let's unpack this, because the text doesn't just say, be a good person and you'll go to a good place, which is what most of us are so used to hearing.
Right, it's way more mechanical than that.
It lays out a defined system. So where does this author even begin to build a foundation for a cosmic weather forecast?
Well, the baseline relies on a very grounded, observable reality. The text points out that everything in the physical universe has a natural, unbroken progression.
Oh.
Like, you see a pregnant woman, you know she's going to have a baby. That baby will predictably experience childhood, adolescence, adulthood, and eventually old age.
It's just cause and effect.
Exactly. After spring comes summer, then fall, then winter. It's an unbroken chain.
Natural laws.
Yeah.
You don't have to guess what season comes after spring. It is just baked into the mechanics of the planet.
Right. And the author argues that life, which, by the way, the text conspicuously capitalizes, treating it as a universal, tangible substance rather than just a biological state, operates on those exact same predictable principles.
Huh. Capital L-I-F-E.
Yes. So if you know your current situation, you can accurately deduce your next phase. But the catch is that you aren't looking at your physical body to make this prediction.
Right, because the body's gone.
Exactly. You have to understand what the text calls the non-material structural state of your life.
The non-material structural state.
Yeah.
So if we think of a person's life as a building, this is like the hidden architecture of the soul.
That captures the idea perfectly, yeah. Because you obviously can't see this internal architecture with your naked eyes, the only diagnostic tool you actually possess is your own consciousness.
Because consciousness is the core of it all.
According to Deiform Celestial, consciousness is the absolute essence of life. The recurring thoughts, fixations, and limitations of your consciousness right now serve as the literal blueprints for your next physical or even non-physical reality.
But how do we actually measure something like a non-material structural state? It's one thing to claim our consciousness builds our reality, but that is a massive, super abstract philosophical concept.
It is, yeah.
How does the text ground this whole blueprint idea in reality? Like, what's an example?
Well, the author provides this really striking real-world anecdote to illustrate the mechanism.
Okay.
Deiform Celestial recounts a trip with another figure mentioned in the text, Foshan Celestial. They were visiting the Yuanyang terraces in Yunnan, China.
I've seen pictures of those. It's a breathtaking place.
Oh, absolutely gorgeous, but historically a very remote and isolated mountainous region. And while they were deep in a village there, the author noticed elderly people of the Hani ethnic group living incredibly harsh, difficult lives.
Doing all that intense manual labor in a secluded valley.
Exactly. And seeing people work that hard their whole lives, it's natural to assume they've earned some kind of, I don't know, cosmic vacation.
Right. Anyone would look at that and think, surely, in the afterlife, They will be free of this valley. They've paid their dues.
But Foshan Celestial replies to that exact sentiment by saying no. He says they will actually continue to reincarnate right there in that exact valley.
What's fascinating here is the underlying logic Foshan provides for that.
Yeah.
He doesn't frame it as a punishment at all.
No, not at all.
He says they will return there because their consciousness holds no other place or world.
Right. Unless they actively desire to leave and actually absorb knowledge about the outside world, they will simply reset to the only reality their minds have the architectural plans to build.
Wait, so just because they haven't been exposed to the outside world, they are cosmically trapped in that valley?
Yes.
That feels incredibly heavy at first glance. But looking at the mechanics of it, it actually makes a profound kind of sense.
It does, mechanically speaking.
It's like having a GPS system in your car, but you are completely locked out of the internet. You can only navigate to addresses that have already been manually typed into your local hard drive.
That's a great way to put it.
Like the GPS might have the hardware capability to guide you to a beach in Hawaii, but if you don't even know Hawaii exists to type it into the destination field, you just keep driving loops around your own neighborhood.
That captures the mechanics the text is outlining beautifully. To an individual life, what is not actively held in your consciousness simply does not exist.
Right.
The author actually bridges this Eastern spiritual framework with Western philosophy by invoking René Descartes' famous maxim,
I think, therefore I am.
exactly, if you want a specific outcome to exist in your reality, you must first construct the structural reality of it in your mind.
So it requires way more than just casually wishing for a better life.
Oh yeah, much more.
It's about holding the rigid structural reality of a destination in your mind until it becomes tangible.
And the author applies this Cartesian logic very practically. The text introduces a specific group of followers called Chanyaman Celestials,
Okay.
and the author claims they can guide these Chanyaman Celestials to a highly specific afterlife destination called the Celestial Islands continent.
Which sounds like quite the upgrade.
Definitely. But this isn't achieved through vague faith or magic. It's achieved by constantly infusing the granular details of this continent into their followers' consciousness.
Like studying a map before a road trip.
Right. They study the landscapes, the characteristics of the supercelestial beings who live there, their daily lifestyles. The author asserts that once these Chanyaman Celestials fully understand these details and clear away other distracting, mundane consciousnesses, arriving at this continent in the next life becomes an ironclad scientific truth.
Okay, so if our consciousness acts as the map and the vehicle, what dictates where we are actually allowed to land?
Well, there are rules.
Right, because clearly it isn't just a free-for-all where you imagine a mansion and they hand you the keys.
No, definitely not.
The text introduces this highly rigorous system of rules and consequences to check your internal state against. It references a source called the Supreme Book of Rewards and Punishments, laying out an intensely specific karmic ledger.
And the rules outlined are startlingly direct and proportional. For instance, the very first rule provided states that if you have killed many dogs, then you will be a dog in your next life.
Wait, a one-to-one species transfer?
Literally, yes.
Did the text explain why it's so literal? Like, is this a putative judge striking a gavel and handing down a sentence? Or is it that the act of killing a dog literally morphs your soul's architecture into a canine shape?
It's the latter. The mechanism relies entirely on your internal structural state. By obsessing over, hunting, or centering your life around the destruction of that specific animal, your consciousness becomes entirely entangled with its essence.
Oh, wow. So you kind of become what you destroy.
Exactly. Your structural state warps to fit the mold of your actions, its exact karma. The text applies this analogy to other cases, too. If you murder a person, your structural state plunges into chaos, inevitably dragging you to the hell world.
Which sounds lovely.
And it specifies layers, too, like the inflamed layer or the frozen layer matching the specific temperature of your cruelty. The text notes here that, quote, divine's punishments, though slow, are always sure.
Meaning, you might bypass the earthly justice system in this lifetime, but the cosmic machinery is meticulously tracking the internal shape of your soul.
Yes. If you abuse life again, capital L-I-F-E, you drag your consciousness to the netherworld. If you oppress the good, swindle, cheat, steal, or loot, your structural state aligns with the animal world.
So it's very much as you sow, so shall you reap.
Exactly. And if you owe too many debts that are left unpaid in this life, your spiritual weight increases, literally pulling you down into the livestock world.
Oh, man. I have to jump in on one specific rule here because it just stopped me in my tracks when I read it. Rule number 5.
Oh, the bird rule.
Yes, it states, if you love freedom but are still ignorant, then you will be a bird.
It's so vivid.
That is such a uniquely specific outcome.
Right.
But looking at the mechanism, it illustrates the cosmic credit score perfectly.
Right, because of the combination of traits.
Yeah. You desire the ability to fly around without any rules, but you refuse to seek the wisdom required to handle that freedom. The universe accommodates your exact structural request. You become a pigeon.
It's a great example. It highlights how granular this non-material structural state is. It goes far beyond a binary concept of just good versus evil. It's about the precise flavor and composition of your consciousness.
Yeah, the flavor is very specific.
And to further validate this strict accounting system, the text pulls from a surprisingly diverse set of cultural references. It doesn't rely solely on Eastern philosophical texts. It actually directly invokes the teachings of Jesus Christ.
That cross-cultural reference was a wild addition to me, but it serves the mechanical explanation perfectly.
It really does. The
Yeah.
author reminds the reader of Christ's warning regarding debt. If you leave even a penny of unpaid debt, you cannot leave the place where you owe it.
You're just stuck there.
Yes. Your debts, whether they are financial, emotional, or karmic, act as heavy iron anchors. If you harbor unfulfilled earthly wishes, those wishes will pull you right back to the mortal world. You simply cannot float away if you are tied down.
Hearing all this, if you are listening right now and running through a mental list of every mistake you've ever made, every unpaid parking ticket, every person you've spoken unkindly to,
It's a stressful thought experiment.
right, you might be feeling incredibly doomed. It sounds like being trapped in an inescapable earthly ledger.
Yeah.
But here's where it gets really interesting.
Yes, the way out.
The text doesn't just list punishments. It offers a highly proactive stance on actively fixing the ledger.
The concept of compensation is central to the author's framework. You can't just try to forget your past mistakes and assume time will naturally heal the cosmic wound.
Time doesn't heal all wounds in this universe.
No. The text requires you to actively investigate your past and take a careful, unflinching inventory of your wrongdoings. Once identified, you must apply specific structural remedies.
It requires an active reversal. It is not enough to just whisper, I'm sorry, into the void and hope the universe hears you.
Right. The text lists 6 highly specific methods of compensation. For example, if you harmed animals, you must henceforth dedicate yourself to loving and protecting them.
So you have to swing the pendulum all the way back.
Exactly. If you harmed people, you must counterbalance that by loving people. If you owe someone an emotional debt, maybe you broke a heart or betrayed a trust, you have to pay back that emotion through genuine care.
And I assume financial debts are just as literal.
Oh, absolutely. If you owe financial debts, you must literally pay them back. You have to actively seek forgiveness for any damage or bullying you have caused.
It is literal accounting. Emotional debt requires emotional payment. Financial debt requires financial payment. You are balancing the books.
And beyond simply zeroing out your negative balances, the text requires you to actively accumulate positive balances. The author explicitly states you must do merits according to the teachings of Buddha.
And what does doing merits practically look like within the confines of this specific text? Because, that term can mean a lot of different things depending on the tradition.
In this context, doing merits means generating actions that actively alleviate the suffering of others and elevate the consciousness of your environment. It's about creating positive karmic energy.
This raises an important question, though. How do you generate that positive energy without it just becoming another selfish desire to buy your way into heaven?
That's the trap, isn't it?
Yeah, because if you're just doing it for points, is it really good? The text answers this with the concept of formless almsgiving.
Yes, formless almsgiving is the crucial mechanism here. It's the act of giving or doing good without any attachment to the act itself.
Like true selflessness.
Right. You do it without ego, without expecting a reward, and without even desiring acknowledgement. Because ego gives an action form, doing it without ego makes the energy boundless.
Boundless energy.
Exactly. The text claims that if you engage deeply in this formless almsgiving, if your merits are pure enough, the boundless energy generated can actually compensate for faults and debts that have accumulated over many, many generations.
That completely reframes the entire concept of karma. It takes it from a prison sentence to an empowering tool.
It really does.
You aren't just a passive victim of your past actions. You are the active, capable auditor of your soul's ledger. You have the power to scrub the slate entirely clean if you put in the precise, egoless work required.
It places agency firmly back into the hands of the individual's current consciousness.
So let's follow the logic. You do the work, the debts are cleared, the apologies are made, the formless almsgiving is locked in, and your earthly anchors are cut.
The baseline is reset.
The baseline is reset. So where do you go? This brings us to the ultimate destinations mapped out in the text.
Well, before detailing the highest tiers of heaven, the text actually issues a peculiar warning about the destinations for those who fail to maintain inner integrity.
Oh, the ghosts and monsters part.
Yes. It states that individuals who talk nonsense about spirits and deities, who are sneaky, whose voices drip with sarcasm, or who resort to sorcery, will become ghosts, demons, and monsters in the next life.
It is a striking list. I mean, sarcasm and sneakiness directly equal becoming a demon.
It seems extreme, but the author connects this to the teachings of a figure named Kyunkun Celestial. The text uses this brilliant analogy of nature. Look at the vast variety of fruits and flowers in the world. Why do they look and function so differently?
Right.
It's because the foundational structural essence of their lives is different. These differing life structures naturally create different entities with different forms and uses in the grand cosmic ecosystem.
Form follows function. If your internal architecture is built out of sneaky, sarcastic, toxic materials, your outward form in the afterlife will naturally reflect that distortion.
Okay.
You warp into a ghostly or demonic entity because that is the shape of your consciousness.
Exact.
But moving past the ghosts, this brings up a massive, absolutely fascinating contradiction that I found in the text, and I want to share this with you listening because it really threw me.
Oh, I think I know what you're going to say.
Earlier in the document, when it is listing the basic karmic rules, it explicitly says, quote, "If you are kind and hardworking and love your family, culture, and state very much, then you will continue to be reborn as a mortal human."
Yes, that is rule number 7 in the foundational section.
And it sounds like a wonderful thing. You love your family, you love your country, you're a generally good person, and you get the reward of being human again. But when we reach the section on how to ascend to the highest tiers of heaven, specifically the 1,000-year world of heaven, the very first requirement is that you must absolutely eliminate the concepts of family, nation, culture, and religion from your consciousness.
It presents a striking paradox to the modern reader, for sure, but it makes perfect, unbroken sense within the text's internal mechanics.
So if dropping those earthly attachments gets you into the 1,000-year world, maintaining that state must require some intense psychological endurance.
Absolutely.
Because earthly attachments, even the really beautiful, wholesome ones like deeply loving your family or your culture, still act as anchors. They keep your consciousness tethered to the mortal realm. You literally cannot transcend the human experience if your mind is entirely built around human concepts.
Right. Loving your state and your culture makes you an excellent mortal, which simply guarantees another mortal reincarnation.
You're just really good at the mortal game.
Exactly. To break the cycle and enter the 1,000-year world, your consciousness must expand beyond those artificial earthly borders. You must become fond of freedom and joy, completely independent of human tribalism, having repaid all earthly debts.
So the 1,000-year world requires dropping those earthly identities. Does the text detail what a consciousness looks like at an even higher altitude? Like, what's past that?
The next level of ascension is the 10,000-year world of heaven.
10,000-year world.
Yes. And the criteria here become highly specific to the unfiltered internal state of your consciousness. You reach this tier if you often dream of flying, and if you exist in a state of continuous joy without requiring sexual contact.
Wow. Okay, think about your own dreams for a second. Are you soaring over mountains, or are you usually, running late for a test you forgot to study for, feeling heavy and stressed?
The classic anxiety dream.
Right. According to this text, that mundane stress dream is a literal metaphysical anchor. Dreams matter here because they represent the unfiltered, subconscious reality of your non-material structural state. If gravity and anxiety bind you in your dreams, you are still anchored. Flying in dreams implies a subconscious liberation from gravity.
And experiencing continuous joy without physical contact implies your energy has become entirely self-sustaining. It no longer relies on physical biology or external stimuli to feel euphoria.
That makes sense.
Moving even higher, we reach the Elysium world. The requirement here is profound, possessing Buddha consciousness.
Which means achieving a state of complete enlightenment, a total detachment from personal suffering, and an expansion of empathy that encompasses all living things without distinction.
You're no longer an individual struggling against the universe.
Exactly. Your consciousness aligns with the universe itself.
And then we reach the absolute peak, the ultimate destination described in the text, the celestial islands continent.
The destination of the genuine celestials.
Yes. To reach this final tier, the text lists 4 strict requirements. You must revere the greatest creator, revere life itself, take the way of the greatest creator, and, crucially, you must possess supernatural powers and be able to fancy an ideal world.
Fancy an ideal world. That phrasing is the key to the entire text for me. It brings us right back to the beginning, back to Descartes. I think, therefore I am.
It all comes full circle.
I look at this requirement like an open-source video game engine. The universe provides the server, but you can only render the assets that you personally know how to code.
That's a fascinating way to conceptualize it.
If you cannot genuinely imagine or fancy a perfect ideal existence down to its structural details, you cannot inhabit it. Your consciousness has to be capable of holding the architecture of paradise before you are allowed to move in.
The creation of the highest afterlife is framed as a collaborative effort between the creator's canvas and the individual's capacity to conceptualize beauty.
So what does this all mean? We have traveled from the manual labor in the valleys of Yunnan all the way to the collaborative reality of the celestial islands continent, tracking our karma like cosmic accountants along the way.
It's been quite the journey.
It has. And the author closes by telling you, the reader, that you are the one who knows best what kind of non-material structure your life has achieved. You hold the data.
Right.
And if you feel like you don't know, the text suggests your spiritual perception simply hasn't opened yet, and you need to put in the work to open it. These rules aren't just threats. They are a navigation system, a way to draw logical inferences about your own future.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, it is clear that the text is attempting something highly unusual. Whether one approaches this as literal, ironclad truth, or as a profound psychological and metaphorical framework for self-improvement, the core message remains incredibly demanding.
Yeah, it doesn't let you off the hook.
Not at all. It states impartially that your daily mindset, your unresolved debts, and your sheer capacity to imagine a better reality are not just passing thoughts. They are the literal building blocks of your future existence.
It takes the weather forecast out of the sky and puts the responsibility for the climate entirely inside your own head.
Beautifully put.
Which leaves us with a final, lingering question for you to ponder as you go about the rest of your day. Think about that GPS metaphor again. Think about the Hadi people in the valley, restricted by the boundaries of their exposure.
The limits of what they could imagine.
Right. If our afterlife, and indeed our future reality, is strictly limited to the places and concepts we can currently hold in our consciousness, what breathtaking parts of the universe are you entirely blind to right now, simply because you haven't dared to imagine them yet?